All right, hello everybody. Armchair updates with Week 19 breakdown. We know what the playoffs are going to look like. We know who's going to be in. We don't. I think the matchups aren't 100% decided yet, but going to do the Week 19 recap right now. My wife's birthday. I was going to do 2 podcasts tonight. Might as well wrench a third one in here and really go for that husband of the year material. She's at the gym, so why not crank this out now? I was going to do it tomorrow, but I hurried up and did the stuff today, so I can do it today. We'll do three pods in one day for the dozen to 15 of us that enjoy this thing. We're going to have a lot of content today. We're going to have Josh and Squib on, the football guys. Josh is the ABL Giants. I'm going to have him on by himself at some point. I didn't want to have a bunch of ABL talk with his football co-owner sitting there that's not in the league or anything. So we'll have Josh on at some point. And then we're doing Toronto Mark right after that. Me, Toronto Mark, one of the better teams in the league. Definitely going to the playoffs, probably facing a division rival. So be interesting to get his thoughts on, the season he's had. I asked him to pick out a handful of moves that he thinks greatly benefited him, maybe more so than the others. How many of his boys maybe is he going to keep going forward if he wants to divulge some of that information? I told him we'll talk about the future Jays as much as he allows, because I like to know that stuff. I'm sure most everybody else is interested in it too that watches these things. But enough of that. Let's get to the Week 19 stuff real quick. I did not have the screen ready to share. Not a great week for the Rockies. I know that much. All right, there we go. Let's go full bloonsy. The Cubs, man, the Cubs. It was the week of the Cubs. If last week was the week of the Jays, and the week before was whoever the hell it was, the Pirates maybe, this was the week of the Cubs. They go 3-0. They score the most points. The Padres go a nice 3-0. They needed that 3-0. They are still fighting for the division, I believe, with the Dodgers. Gained at least a game on them. What did the Dodgers do? Where are the Dodgers? There they are, 1-1. So game and a half. Angels go 3-0. They are in. The Rays go 3-0. They are in. This is in the playoffs. The White Sox go 2-0. The Mariners, the Cardinals, the Phillies all go 2-0. Oh, they are all also in the playoffs. The Twins, the Pirates. The Pirates lost a game. My God, how did that happen? The Twins, the Pirates, the Jays, the Red Sox, the Nats, and the Mets go 2-1. The Mets may be too little too late. I don't think they can catch me. Pretty sure they can't catch me. But still, fighting to the bitter end is Dwight, and maybe lining himself up for a run at the consolation bracket. The Dodgers split the week at 1-1. The D-backs go 1-2 and had a huge week. They stomped me. They scored a bunch of points, but they just happened to run into a couple teams that put up bigger. But the D-backs have had at least two really nice weeks in a row. That team, it's a little late for this year, but that team's really starting to come around and show what they could have been if they got some of these injured guys. Like I know Sale is a big one. If they got some of these injured guys back a little sooner. The Rockies go 1-2. The Astros have another. It's been a tough second half for the Astros. Go 1-2. The Brewers, the Yankees, and the A's all go 1-2. The Yankees, though, I think do have the spot sewn up now with, say, maybe the A's go 3-0. Maybe this last week, week 20, could have really, maybe it could have changed things. I haven't looked that deep into it. The O's go 0-2, and the Giants, the Reds took a tough loss. The Royals, the Marlins, the Braves, the Clevelands, and the Texas Rangers all go 0-3. So, like I said, the playoff picture. Let's take a quick look at that. I have the the document that somebody had posted up in the Discord of what it should look like, or looks like as of the end of this week. There are still some things I believe that could change, but this is what the playoffs look like right now. So like right now. Not a whole lot. I see, the Padres and the Dodgers are right there, so the Padres could still conceivably overtake the Dodgers for the West. So that could change, and that seeding would change some matchups. The AL, or one matchup rather, two. The AL, I don't think a whole lot is going to change. Are the Yankees 26-17? Is that right? That doesn't feel right. Does that feel right? I'm looking. Are the Yankees 26? They're 26-27. Okay, so that's a typo there for the Yankee. They're not 26-17. They're 26-27. But still, they're the same spot. I just didn't think that looked right. But nobody. The Yankees are not going to jump over the wild card one team. They're not going to jump over the Twins. Wife just told me Charlie Watts is dead. Damn. That's the kind of news you miss on when you're taking notes for the ABL podcast. So Charlie Watts dead. Breaking news. You heard it here first. Maybe I got the scoop. The Yankees aren't going to take over the wild card 2 team, which is the Twins, almost unfairly having to be a wild card team for how good they've been. The Central, the Sox are not going to overtake the Tigers for the Central. The Angels probably aren't going to overtake the Mariners for the West. I guess it could happen if they're both playing 3 games and the M's lose them all and the Angels win them all. Would that? I don't know what the tiebreaker would be between the two of them, but I guess that could potentially shake something up. But nobody is going to overtake the Rays for the East 2 spot. And like I said, nobody's taking over the Twins. So it's pretty well solidified, but there are potentially mathematically matchups that could change. But this is as it looks now. And, like I said, we'll talk to the Jays tonight about their matchup against the Rays. And we saw the Discord this morning, Dom throwing out there that maybe he was looking to acquire some starting pitching for that upcoming matchup against the Jays, which is going to be tough. The AL is tough. I mean, they're both tough, but the AL, you got the Sox, the Jays, the Twins just scored 410 points, the Mariners, and of course the Tigers. Like everybody, the Yankees could have a good week, but the Yankees aren't one of those teams. Every other one of those teams are teams that can put up 350 in a given week, and that's a pretty good score on your average week. So, when you get over to the NL side, the Marlins are not putting up 350 anymore. The Rockies have never put up 350. The Phillies' days of putting up 350, maybe he could, but he was kind of regularly putting up in that range for a little bit. Those days are probably over. The AL is clearly tougher, but the top teams in the NL, I think, match up very well with the teams in the AL. The Pirates are a stud team. The Dodgers, despite the bumpiness they've had lately, are still a stud team. The Cardinals are still a stud team. But man, you look at the AL side, it's easy to say that maybe the champion comes from the American League in year 1, but I want to discount especially the Pirates. The Pirates have been so good, so consistently good. You don't really want to take anything away from them. What the hell do I do now? The tidbits. The little bits and pieces. Let's have these. All right, so we had 6 matchups this week qualify for the small margin victory, which I arbitrarily set at 20 points or fewer. Number 1 of the week was New York over the Washingtons. So the Yankees very nearly went 0-3, and it took them beating the Nationals by fewer than 2 points, 1.833 points, for them to not get swept this week, which I still think that they would have been the wild card team, but they definitely would have lost a game to the A's, who went 1-2, and then maybe makes this week kind of crazier, week 20. Number 2, so there's one of those losses by Arizona I talked about. He had a great week, and they did, and one of the losses was a very thin one to the Padres by 4.667 points. So the D-backs have really come on lately. I'm kind of pressed for time a little bit. I don't want to take a super deep dive into Arizona's roster, but I know I have in the past, and I know I had said this could potentially be a team to look out for in the second half, and they were. It's just coming a little bit too late. But if they continued on if our regular season was weeks longer, boy, the D-backs, I would have been in trouble. Me and the Mets, for that wild card 2 spot, we would have been really looking at the D-backs nipping at our heels and probably eventually overtaking if things were going to continue going the way they were. Number 3, Pittsburgh and the Dodgers, 7.833 points. So one of the losses that the Dodgers took was a pretty slim one. Number 4, Colorado, interdivision win over San Francisco, who was playing me tough. Man, the D-backs and the Giants both playing me tough this week. I lost to the D-backs, and I barely beat the Giants by 12.5 points. So not a great week for me. And I mean, I don't know. I think I had a half decent week, but the NL West, man, it's not just the Dodgers. It's not just the Padres. There's some decent teams. When Josh took over for the Giants, they started getting a little bit better, and now they're putting up 200 plus a week, and they are very nearly beating playoff and potential playoff teams. So things are tightening up, and I think are going to tighten up quicker than maybe some of us realized, at least some of us in the West maybe, because, man, the Giants and D-backs all of a sudden are looking like pretty good teams when they were just kind of languishing for most of the season. Your number 5, the Cubs over the Minnesotas. So really tough luck Tyler this week. As you can see in the high scores, he was the Twins were the second highest scoring team of the week. He just so happened to play the highest scoring team of the week on an interleague matchup. The Cubs beat Minnesota by 15.667 points. And then another interdivision squabble, the Brewers over the Reds by 19, just falling in under the cut line. So the Dodgers and the Twins are both top 5 scoring teams for the week, and both had slim losses to one of the only other teams that could have beat them. That is the trials of head-to-head scheduling. It's just somehow that is the way it goes. That sucks for the Twins. You take enough of those, and all of a sudden he's wild card 1 instead of fighting for his division. He was tough luck Tyler early on in the year in the first few weeks of the pod. And now we can come back and look and see, those tough luck losses, they really added up to Tyler. He's wild card 1 instead of Central 2. So I guess that could still be decided. That wasn't one that I mentioned. Tyler could leapfrog the White Sox, potentially, right? If they both played 3 games this week and the Twins sweep and the Sox lose them all, I mean, that's probably not going to happen, but that could happen. But if you go back to the first couple weeks where the Twins were tough luck Tyler, the tough luck Twins, those couple thin losses, look at the ramifications that could potentially have now in the playoffs. That might be fun to go back and look at. I'm not going to do it now, but there's a reason I call them that, and it was because he was always showing up on that small margin list. So there you go. Everything matters. Except for the Milwaukee-Cincinnati one. Those guys are both out of it. But again, another team coming on since getting a new owner, the Brewers, scoring big points. The Reds have even been scoring 200 plus lately. I think he came in at like 199.5 this week, but everybody's scoring some points now. You see the Nats up there again at the point per game leader, of course, in only 34 games. But that's what, three or 4 weeks in a row that they've been on there. And I think 3 of the last 4, maybe they were in first place or something like that. Just weird stuff happening towards the end of the year. Your high score of the week, the Cubs, 425.667 points. So Toronto had a great week last week with the second place team about 40 points below. This week, We had another team put up 400, and that was the Minnesotas at 410. And of course, like I just said, lost to the only other team, the only team that could beat him, which was the Cubs. He happened to play this week and take that loss against the Cubs. So very tough week for, not a tough week. He had a good week, but a tough loss. That individual loss is very tough. Anybody else he plays, he beats. Puts up the second most points in the league. Just happened to play the Cubs the week that he did it. And the Cubs happened to be the highest scoring team of the week. So that's a tough loss. Number 3, Detroit, 370.333 points. Number 4, Pittsburgh, 365. And the Dodgers break back into the top 5, 357.167 points. Point per game for the week, Washington there at 6.18 in 34 games. But then the Cubs hit 5 in 85 games. It really was just a monster week for the Cubs. And he did it with hitting and pitching, but the hitting was the primary thing. And like Duke said this morning, if Frank gets a couple pitchers, he almost looks unstoppable, especially when he has a week like he did in week 19. 5.01 in 85 games. Then there's Minnesota, 4.77 points in 86 games. Detroit, 4.52 in 82. And Pittsburgh, 4.51 in 81 games. So we really saw the games played bump up a little bit here with 4 of the 5, and the Nats are the weird outlier with the only 34, but then the other guys all above 80. So for a little bit there, I know it was the 70s, the low mid 70s you wanted. Now we're getting some guys into the mid 80s, 85, 86, 4 of the 5 in the low 80s. That's depth, man. That's having those guys to play those games. It really matters. You're hitting for week 19, the Cubs, 252 hitting points. I think that is it. I know it's among the highest we've seen for a single week scoring. It might be the highest. I'd have to go back through everything and look, but I know it's up there. Pittsburgh in number 2, 221 hitting points. Number 3, Detroit, 213. Number 4, Minnesota at an even 200. And number 5, the White Sox at 195. So we almost had 5 teams go over 200 hitting points, which would have been a first for the single week scoring weeks. Pitching week 19, Minnesota 210. So Minnesota does it with the bats and the arms, just as Chicago did. But you have Minnesota 4th in hitting, 1st in pitching. Chicago was 1st in hitting, 4th in pitching. Number 2 in pitching, Toronto. They're always up there, 205 pitching points. Number 3, the Dodgers, 174.167. Number 4, the Cubs, 173.667. So very little separating the Dodgers and the Cubs there. And then Detroit, 157.333. So this is the kind of week the Cubs can have when they get some pitching. It's a fairly dominant one. A 425-point week would have beat anybody they played. And he got a really good Zach Gallen start. I know, 6 innings, 8 or 9 strikeouts, 1 or none earned. The Cubs are serious business. The Cubs are one of the few teams that have given Pittsburgh trouble on the season, and they are not to be scoffed at heading into the playoffs. Your point per game on the season, largely unchanged except for the 5 spot, which I made a note about. Toronto kicks St. Louis out of the 5 spot. So Toronto slides in there at number 5 at 4.18. Your top 4 remain the same. And the only one that gained anything, Detroit gained a fraction. He went from 4.24 to 4.25. But the top 3, Pittsburgh, the Dodgers, and the White Sox, unchanged. And now that I'm just now doing this, I'm seeing that I forgot to fill in the hitting and pitching for the season. So we'll wrap that up on the next one because the regular season will be over. Suffice to say, I don't think it changed a whole lot. Maybe there was some shuffling at the bottoms. I can't believe I totally forgot to put that in. But that's what happens when you kind of rush. I'm like, I want to do all 3 of these instead of waiting till tomorrow to do this one. Like, I can pretty much get it out now, so why not get it out now and have a bunch of shit going out in one day. That's pretty much it. Pretty much it for the news and notes. Tune in later for Blue Jay Mark, for the football guys. Tune in for the shit. I don't remember their team name off the top of my head. But we'll talk to them here in several hours. So thanks for watching. I'll see you later. And for those of us going to the playoffs, see you in the playoffs. Thanks.